Welcome to Subramani. You've always heard that retirement means targeting a sum of money, right? So maybe 3 crores, maybe 1 million US dollars, maybe 8 crores, 7.5 crores, whatever. You always looked at that and that has intimidated you, right? You say, oh my God, this looks like I need to win a lottery or I have to inherit something real big. How can I get to this number, right? So it's an intimidating number. So the other way to look at it, one more way to look at it is, if somebody can put an X amount of money in your bank every day or every month, you should be able to retire, right? So suppose today your take home pay is say 67,000 rupees, right? And you're saying every month if 67,000 rupees can come into my account, that should be great. Or less aggressive number to look at is to say my expenses are about 40,000 rupees. So if somebody can put 40,000 rupees a month in my account, then I should be able to retire. So what am I doing here? I'm just twisting it a little. I'm saying instead of doing a target of a lump sum, which looks intimidating, I will target an income which is less intimidating. So 40,000 a month doesn't look too bad. So what all can I do to get that 40,000 other than my salary? I have a salary that's nice, that's paying me 70,000, 67,000 per month, that's great. But my expenses are only about 40,000 rupees. So what can I do on the side for me to earn that money? It could be anything. It could be, cooking and giving something to every other person in your building or selling things. I see that happening pretty regularly in big societies. At least happens in my society. There are women who cook and make things for others. There are men who do that. Right, so that could be one thing to do. You could be a part-time photographer, a part-time architect. You could do anything. I know a guy who does the work of a priest. He's a practicing chartered accountant. He also does the work of a priest. He earns money. Does he do it to earn money? No, he does that to improve his diction. But he earns money, right? So if you can create something by which you can create a monthly income of 40,000 rupees, because this is the number that we are targeting, that looks far less intimidating than that 8 crore that the calculator spoke about. I think it will also force you to make some better investment decisions. You will look at some mutual fund and say, okay, let me put some money there. Whenever I want, I can withdraw, right? Like you put money in equity funds and say, I will not touch it. So you're putting money in equity funds, creating a corpus, and you're creating a side gig to earn that 40,000 rupees. Suppose you can create a side gig which earns you 20,000 rupees, whatever it is. You're giving tuitions, you're cooking, you're doing photography, anything that you want. And that's creating 20,000 rupees. Now suddenly you need only 20,000 rupees to be replaced for your retirement, which your mutual funds are anyway doing, right? So the corpus requirement has come down maybe from 8 crores to 4 crores. So that itself is good because you've created this. Now suppose you do some more things and create another 5,000, 7,000. Now you're very clearly focused that I need to create another 5,000 rupees of income. And for doing that, let me invest more aggressively. Maybe you will say, okay, let me skip that cup of coffee. Let me not buy that extra pair of shoes. Suddenly the focus comes in. Of course, the focus was already there when you needed 8 crores. But what happens, it is so intimidating that sometimes you'll say, I'm never going to reach 8 crores. Let me have this coffee. Here, this 5,000 rupees looks far more reachable. So you will say, oh, this is realistic. Let me go about doing this. This will force you to do some asset allocation based on which you will say, it's okay, I can put more money in equity simply because I know that I have a main job, I have a side gig, and that side gig is earning me enough to pay the EMI for the house, right? So since I have all this happening, I can take more risk. So your risk-taking ability goes up. You are a little more aggressive in your asset allocation. So that way, that also helps. And it will also mean one thing, you have to, of course, get very sensible about investing. You need to reduce churn, and therefore the taxation and the other impact costs have to be reduced. So if you keep money in a mutual fund, debt mutual fund for 30-40 years, unlike in a bank deposit, you will not incur annual taxation, and those kind of costs will not be there. So understand investing better. Now if you have created enough corpus to say, okay, out of this corpus how much income can I get, and you think, okay, you're going to get a 10% income, just saying it for calculation purposes, then you need to know that to create about, say, 40,000 rupees a month, which is about 4,80,000, out of which 2,40,000 you have already created on the side gig. So you need much lesser. You need only 25 lakhs annual income, so you need only 2.5 crores. Right? So you work harder and you say, okay, let me work towards this 2.5 crores, because if I created this 2.5 crores, that plus my side gig. So what have you done? You have come down dramatically from 8 crores to 2.5 crores. That looks far more achievable in your head, so you go and achieve it. After that, you may still go and achieve your 8 crores. But what happens when the target is more realistic, or you think it is more realistic, then you start thinking in terms of being able to achieve it. Otherwise, 8 crore is just a number which has come from a calculator and you may not believe it yourself. Whereas these numbers like 40,000 is far more easy to believe. So what are the assets? What are assets in all? Because you will have a combination of all this. So you'll have cash, you'll have government securities, you'll have savings bank account, you'll have fixed deposits, you will perhaps have a pension, but you may not have a pension. You will have some equity, you will have debt, right? You will have some regular RD, FD, your PF, your insurance policies if they're paid up, or even if they're being paid, and these are endowment plans, right? Some residential property which you may have bought, some residential property for which you may have given advance, some commercial property. All these can generate assets, all these assets can generate some income for you. So remember that. Find out very clearly how much income you need. Now, what happens when you're 30 years of age? Don't try to guess how much expenses you will have when you're 60. Just go and cut paste from your dad, right? So ask your dad how much is he spending, and based on that you could create your own mental image of how much money you think you will need, adjust it to inflation, right? So typically your portfolio could contain some cash. It would have some cash kept at home, some savings bank account, I'm sure you don't need a current account, but savings bank account, one corporate bond fund, one index fund for equities, one index fund for debt. As of now, you don't find them in India. Then you could also have some high yield portfolio where you say, okay, let me take a slightly higher risk here, and you put something like that in a debt fund, you put something in an index fund. Then you say, oh, I also need some infrastructure fund, I need some ELSS fund. So all this put together is your portfolio. Then have a look at it and see, can I generate 20,000 rupees income out of it? So if your side gig is paying you 20,000 and your portfolio is willing to give you 20,000 per month, almost in perpetuity, then you have already done the job of being financially free. Now you're only trying to make sure that you're financially free even without the side gig, where the side gig acts as a cushion. But the money coming from the side gig may also be going into your SIP and creating a bigger corpus, so you will definitely achieve it faster. But the fact that you're concentrating on your income means it looks more realistic, and you know what are the next few steps to take. And very important thing with this, you will also make sure that out of your the capital from where you're getting income, you will make sure that you don't touch the capital. That is very important, otherwise this income will fall. Of course there is interest rate risk and all that happening, but remember that you should not touch your capital for a very, very long period of time unless it has appreciated much, or you have created a corpus which is more than what you actually know you need. You needed an 8 crore portfolio, you have created 12 crores, you have a 4 crore surplus. But when you are 35 years of age or 33 years of age, you have not created enough corpus, right? So you do not know what is a safe number. You are just hoping that the number that you arrive at is safe, and you are also saying, I have some side gig, I have some main source of income and supplementary source of income. So with all that, I should be able to retire. Also understand that as your increase in salary happens, you should be investing more because your standard of living is also going up. So remember that. When you're building your income portfolio, the income producing assets will also contribute some money, and that will have to be plowed back so that the corpus keeps going up, right? Also remember that when you're very young and you're planning, you might ignore inflation. Now even a 60-year-old planning his retirement, or 60-year-old planning her retirement, cannot afford to ignore ignore inflation. So you please be careful about inflation, especially if you're young. And if you have created your side gig which is capable of taking care of inflation, great, more power to you, right? You obviously will need to invest a significant portion of your current salary, and you may have to invest all the so-called income coming from your portfolio. Ideally, your income from your portfolio should be zero in terms of cash flow, because that will attract tax. But sometimes it is inevitable. You have some money in bank fixed deposit, you will get interest, and on that you will pay tax. But minimize that, keep more money in debt fund growth options so that you pay tax only and only when you withdraw, right? Thank you.